there booktube, it's Janet, and recently I posted a video all about the big books on my TBR. I'm sure if you've seen my channel before, you know that I have got this mortal fear of big books. So I thought, well, I would have a look at what big books I've actually read to do the contrast of the top 10. And for me, anything over 400 pages is a big book. Now, some of you might just be rolling your eyes going, oh my god, she's pathetic. But yeah, I just have this thing about big books. I have read some big books, as you'll see from the pile, but initially you might not be so impressed by them. So I had a look through my Goodreads list and I went through them all, and I've done them from number 10 to number 1 in ascending order of pages. So at number 10, coming in at 503 pages, is Birdsong by Sebastian Faulks, and this is a First World War book. It's really a fantastic read. I absolutely loved it. It really shows you what it was like to be a soldier in the trenches, how much you've covered in lice, and the death and destruction and decay that was all around you. And also at the heart of it, there is a love story. I absolutely loved it. It is so good. It is an important book, I would say. So that was 503 pages. At number 9, at 528 pages, is The Time Traveller's Wife by Audrey Niffenegger. And this again is an absolutely wonderful book. I remember reading this on holiday actually, and I was on my sunbed and I was having a little weep. It's just a beautiful book. It's a romance story where the protagonist has got some sort of genetic disorder where he can't control where he is at any point in time. So yeah, it's just marvellous. If any of you read it, you'll know that it's great. Fantastic read. So that was number 9. Number 8 on the list I don't actually have because I lent it out and it hasn't come back, and that is Cutting for Stone by Abraham Verghese, and that comes in at 541 pages. And this is set in Ethiopia actually. It's a really interesting book, and it's a story of the protagonist's life as he works and he studies and he starves and all those sorts of things, and it's a really good read. So I do recommend that one as well. Next, at number 7, we have The Poisonwood Bible by Barbara Kingsolver, and that is 546 pages. I don't have a copy of this because I've given it away because I didn't actually love this one. It's set in the Congo and it follows the story of a family of missionaries that go out there. Basically the father is the missionary and he's a little bit on the mad side, and he has daughters, and it's the difficulty that they face there. And I just found it a little bit overwritten and a little bit too long actually, so I didn't love it. But if you're into that kind of thing, Barbara Kingsolver is a wonderful writer. Number 6 at 584 pages is The Book Thief by Marcus Zusak, and this is one of my all-time favourite books. It follows the story of Liesel, who is orphaned during the Second World War, and she's a German child, and it shows you the impact of the war on the ordinary German people who we have been brought up to regard as the enemy, but basically the ordinary people just like you and me were just caught up in all of this like everybody else. And it is a beautiful tale, and you can see Death because he is the narrator of the story. Number 5 at 620 pages, don't have a copy of this because I borrowed this off my daughter, and that is The Host by Stephanie Meyer, and I really enjoyed this read actually. It's a dystopian book where the human race has sort of been taken over by an alien species who sort of move from planet to planet, and they start to live within the biological matter that is on that planet. So sometimes they could be something under the sea, sometimes they could be an animal, and so on Earth they've been put into human beings, so they sort of inhabit the body of the human being. And it's a bit of a thriller, and it was a really good read, so I thoroughly recommend that one as well. So number 4 at a massive 629 pages is a book that I've only read recently, and that is The Secret History by Donna Tartt, and a lot of people absolutely adore this book. I liked it, but I didn't love it. It's the story of an elite group of students who are at university, and there's a bit of a cover-up for something that happens that obviously is the secret history. I don't want to give too much away. Like I say, I enjoyed it, I liked it, but I didn't love it. But it's definitely well worth a read. So we're now into the top 3. And at number 3, at 845 pages, is The Crimson Petal and the White by Michelle Faber. and this follows the story of Sugar, who's a prostitute in Victorian England. And I have to say, if Michelle Faber had written 845 pages and then another 845 pages, I would have been glad, because I wanted more of this book. And as I read it, I raced through it. It certainly didn't feel like 845 pages. I couldn't put it down. Sugar is one of my all-time favourite literary characters. I could have just read and read and read and read and read Sugar's story. I loved it. So it does go to show that just because it's big, it doesn't mean to say it's a labour. This was a labour of love. I flew through it. I probably read this a lot quicker than I read some of the smaller books that I read, because just basically I couldn't put it down. I can't recommend this highly enough. Number 2 on my list at 1088 pages is The Pillars of the Earth by Ken Follett. Don't have this book. I've lent it to somebody and it's not come back. It is a massive book, but it is, again, a fantastic read. And it follows the story of the England in the Middle Ages, and it's the building of a cathedral, but it's all the people who are involved in the building of the cathedral, and there's corruption, and there are some really gory dark deeds that go on, but it's probably quite a good replica, a good representation of the violence that was around in that time. So again, I'm very proud that I read this book at 1088 pages, but I really enjoyed it. It was fabulous. And so number 1 on my list, which blows all the other books on the list out of the water, at a massive 1463 pages that I have actually read, and I am so proud to have read, is Les Miserables by Victor Hugo. Look at the size of that, and I have read it. If you just look inside, look at the print in that as well, and they don't even stop between chapters, and I've read it, and it is a bloody good book, but there are bits in it that I didn't like. So you get the story of Les Miserables, which I have to say that the musical adaptation and the film did brilliantly to condense this into the fantastic film and show that it was. But in between all those bits of story, where you do get a lot more depth and a lot more background to the characters, you get huge chunks of French history, which it almost seems like a French history book and a great novel have been spliced together, and it's not necessary. I'm not sure if a modern day editor would have sort of agreed that that was a good way to go. It would have been a really good French textbook on French history and a really good novel, so it would have made 2 really good books. So I did find the chunks on the French history a little bit dull, because I really wanted just to get back into the narrative of the story. But I'm very proud that I've read this. I don't think I'll read it again, but I have read a book of this magnitude and this size. So when I put my mind to it, I can do it. So those are the big books that I've actually read. So we started small, but we ended on a high, with number 1 almost 3 times as long as number 10. So let me know if you've read any of these. Let me know what big books you've read and what books you think were too long and what books were long but they weren't long enough for you. So let's chat in the comments down below. Keep reading, and I will see you all soon. Bye!